A hot start to the day. It was a blistering hot afternoon in the city, and the sun seemed to scorch everything in its path. The streets shimmered with heat, and the air felt thick and suffocating. Maya wiped her forehead, feeling the sweat drip down her face. She was already tired, and her feet ached from walking in the sun, but she had no choice. She needed to get to the restaurant before her husband, Jordan, arrived. Today was supposed to be special. Maya had made a reservation weeks ago, a little celebration for the two of them before their baby arrived. She had planned everything carefully, from the dress she was wearing to the restaurant she had chosen. It was a small, fancy place in the heart of the city. The food was amazing, and it was just the perfect spot to relax and enjoy some quiet time together before their lives changed forever. But now, standing outside the restaurant's entrance, she was beginning to feel uneasy. The hostess hadn't greeted her warmly, and the small line of people waiting outside only seemed to make things worse. Maya tried to smile, hoping to hide her frustration, but the heat made it almost impossible to keep cool. She approached the hostess, who was standing by the door with a clipboard, looking busy. The young woman barely glanced up at Maya before speaking in a dry voice. "Can I help you?" the hostess asked, her tone flat. "Yes, I have a reservation for two," Maya said, trying to sound confident, but her voice wavered slightly. The hostess quickly scanned her list, her finger moving down the paper as she checked for Maya's name. A few moments passed before she looked up, her expression not changing. "I'm sorry, we're running behind. You'll have to wait a few minutes," she said, her voice cold. She didn't apologize or offer any explanation for the delay. Maya was taken aback. She had made the reservation weeks in advance, and this wasn't the treatment she expected. "I understand, but I called earlier and everything was confirmed," Maya replied, trying to remain calm. The hostess barely acknowledged her and pointed to the bench outside. "Please wait over there," she said without making eye contact. Maya stood there for a moment, feeling a mix of frustration and embarrassment. The heat was unbearable, and she could feel the sweat soaking through her clothes. She glanced at the other people waiting around her. They looked perfectly calm, but Maya couldn't help but feel singled out. She wasn't sure why, but something about the way the hostess had spoken to her bothered her. As she sat down on the bench, Maya checked her phone for the time. It was nearly 4:30 p.m. Jordan was supposed to arrive at 5:00 p.m., but he had called earlier saying he was running late. That didn't bother Maya. He was always busy, and she had learned to be patient. But what bothered her now was the way she was being treated, like she wasn't important enough to be let inside at the time of her reservation. The minutes passed slowly, and Maya couldn't stop glancing at the door, hoping that someone would come to explain what was going on. But no one did. The hostess was still inside, talking to other customers and making no effort to acknowledge Maya's presence. The sun was setting now, casting an orange glow over the city, but the heat remained almost unbearable. Maya's hands were shaking slightly as she adjusted herself on the uncomfortable bench. The discomfort was getting to her, and she wondered how much longer she would have to wait. Then, just when Maya thought she couldn't take it anymore, she saw something out of the corner of her eye. A man walking toward the entrance of the restaurant. He was dressed sharply in a business suit, carrying a briefcase, and his posture was confident. The hostess immediately stood up, her face changing when she saw him. She greeted him with a wide smile, and Maya heard her say something like, "It's great to see you again, Mr. Westbrook. We have your table ready." Maya's eyes widened in surprise. Mr. Westbrook. She'd heard that name before. Jordan had mentioned it once or twice, but she never thought much of it. Could this man have any connection to the restaurant? Before she could think too much about it, the hostess turned back to Maya and, in a completely different tone, said, "Ma'am, we're terribly sorry for the wait. Your table is ready now." Maya stood up slowly, still processing what had just happened. Something about this whole situation didn't feel right. She was led inside the restaurant, past the man in the business suit, who was talking to the hostess now. The place was more elegant than Maya remembered. The soft lighting, the elegant decor, it all looked perfect. Yet Maya felt a strange tension in the air. As she was led to her table, Maya tried to shake off the feeling of unease. Maybe she was just overthinking it. But the way the hostess had treated her before, and the sudden change in her attitude was unsettling. Maya tried to relax as she sat down, but she couldn't help but wonder about the man outside and what his connection to the restaurant was. Why had the hostess treated him so differently? And why was she suddenly being treated like a VIP? She checked her phone again. Jordan had texted, saying he was on his way. She smiled, glad that he would be there soon. She needed his calming presence to make everything feel normal again. But what Maya didn't know was that the real story was only just beginning. The truth about the restaurant, about the people inside it, and about her own husband was more complicated than she could ever imagine. The shocking truth. Maya sat at the table, trying to calm her nerves. The restaurant, now buzzing with life, felt like a different world compared to the hot, uncomfortable bench outside. The soft music played in the background, and the clinking of silverware seemed almost soothing. But there was still that nagging feeling in her chest, like something wasn't quite right. She looked around the restaurant, trying to shake off the odd feeling she had. She needed to relax, especially since Jordan would be here soon. She checked her phone once more. 5:15 p.m. He was still on his way. Her thoughts were interrupted by the hostess, who had come to check on her. The woman was now all smiles, her earlier coldness completely gone. "Is everything all right, ma'am?" the hostess asked, her voice sweet. "Yes, thank you," Maya replied, forcing a smile. "It's just a little hot out there." "Oh, we're so sorry for the delay earlier," the hostess said, her tone filled with false sincerity. "We were just getting things ready for you." Maya nodded, but her thoughts kept drifting back to the man she had seen earlier. He had seemed important, but why? She didn't understand why the hostess had been so polite to him and then so dismissive of her. The whole situation didn't add up. As she sat there, still lost in thought, she heard the door open. She didn't look up at first, thinking it was just another customer. But then, her heart skipped a beat. It was Jordan. Maya's face lit up when she saw him walk through the door. He looked the same as always, tall, confident, and always looking out for her. The moment he spotted her, his face softened, and he walked over to the table with a warm smile. "Hey, baby," he said, bending down to kiss her on the cheek. Maya felt a wave of relief wash over her. "I was starting to think you wouldn't make it," she said, finally letting go of her tension. "I wouldn't miss this for the world," Jordan replied, taking the seat across from her. "Sorry I'm late. The traffic was crazy." "No worries," Maya said, still smiling. "I've been here for a while, but they finally let me in. It's so much cooler inside." Jordan nodded, but Maya noticed he seemed distracted, his eyes darting around the room as though he was looking for someone. "Is everything okay?" Maya asked, sensing that something was off. Jordan's gaze lingered on the door for a moment before he turned back to her. "Yeah, everything's fine," he said, though his voice sounded a little strained. Before Maya could say anything else, the hostess appeared again, holding a menu in her hand. She placed it on the table, smiling brightly at Jordan. "Mr. Westbrook, it's a pleasure to have you back," she said, her tone warmer than before. "We've prepared a special table for you tonight." Maya's eyebrows furrowed. Mr. Westbrook, that was the man from outside. The one who had been treated like royalty by the hostess. She glanced at Jordan, her heart racing. "Mr. Westbrook," Maya repeated, trying to keep her voice steady. Jordan gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. "Yes," he said, looking down at the menu. "That's me." Maya blinked in surprise. "But I didn't know you had a connection to this restaurant." Jordan's eyes flickered with something Maya couldn't quite place. "It's not exactly what you think," he said, his voice low. The hostess, sensing the shift in the air, quickly walked away, leaving Maya and Jordan to face the growing tension. Maya felt a sudden coldness creep into her bones. Why hadn't Jordan told her about this before? Why had he kept it hidden? There were so many questions, but she didn't know where to start. "Jordan, what's going on?" she asked, her voice shaky. "Why didn't you tell me about this place?" "About him." Jordan looked uncomfortable, shifting in his seat. "I wasn't sure how to tell you. I didn't think it was important." "Not important," Maya echoed, her voice rising. "You're telling me this place, this fancy restaurant where we're sitting right now, is yours, and you never thought to mention it." Jordan took a deep breath, his gaze steady on her now. "It's not exactly mine," he said. "I'm not the owner, but I'm very close to him. The man you saw earlier, he's my boss. And he's more than just a boss to me. He's like family." Maya's head was spinning. This was more than she could process at the moment. Everything she thought she knew about her husband suddenly felt like it was built on sand. "I don't understand," Maya said, her voice trembling. "Why didn't you tell me about this? Why didn't you tell me who you really were?" Jordan's expression softened, but there was a sadness in his eyes. "I didn't want to overwhelm you. I just wanted us to have a normal night tonight." Maya wasn't sure what to think. She had always known Jordan had a successful career, but she had never imagined that it involved this kind of wealth, this kind of connection. The man she had married, this man who had never told her the full truth, was someone she wasn't sure she knew anymore. Before she could respond, the door to the restaurant opened again, and a familiar figure stepped inside. Maya turned to look, her heart racing once more. It was the man from outside, the one who had been treated so differently by the hostess. This time, he was walking toward their table, the unexpected guest. Maya's heart raced as the man approached their table. There was something undeniably familiar about him, but she couldn't quite place it. His confident stride and calm demeanor seemed at odds with the way he'd been treated by the hostess. Jordan noticed the direction of her gaze and sighed softly. He looked at the man walking toward them, then back at Maya. His eyes were filled with concern, as if trying to decide whether he should say something. Before Maya could ask, the man reached their table with a wide grin on his face. "Mr. Westbrook," the man said, extending his hand first to Jordan, then to Maya. "It's been a while. You must be the wife, Maya, right?" Maya hesitated, unsure of how to respond. The man's voice was smooth, his handshake firm, but his presence unsettled her. There was an air of authority about him that made her feel small in comparison. "Yes, I'm Maya," she said, shaking his hand slowly. "And you are?" "I'm Marcus," he replied, still smiling. "Marcus Blake. I own this restaurant, and I've known Jordan for years. He's a good man." Maya blinked in shock. This man, the one who had been so kindly treated by the hostess, was the owner. The one who had been so casually referred to as Jordan's boss. She had assumed he was just another wealthy guest, but now it seemed that he was even more connected than she'd imagined. Jordan seemed to sense the confusion in her eyes and quickly spoke up. "Marcus is more than just a boss to me," he said, his voice a little strained. "He's like family, Maya. I've worked here for a long time. He's been a mentor to me." Maya felt a wave of unease wash over her. She had no idea that Jordan had such a close relationship with Marcus, or that his connection to the restaurant was so much deeper than she had known. She glanced from Marcus to Jordan, but the two men seemed so comfortable with each other, like they were old friends. "So, you own the restaurant?" Maya asked, trying to wrap her head around the situation. "But I thought Jordan said it wasn't yours." Marcus chuckled softly, clearly enjoying the confusion he had caused. "It's a bit complicated," he said. "Jordan's been with me for years, and he's helped me run this place. We've got a lot of history, and we've made some good decisions together." Maya could sense that there was more to the story, but she wasn't sure if she was ready to hear it. She turned back to Jordan, searching his face for any hint of the truth. Why had he kept all of this from her? Why had he never mentioned Marcus or the restaurant? Before she could ask more, Marcus added, I hope you two enjoy your meal tonight. It's on me." He shot a glance at the hostess, who had returned to the front of the restaurant, and nodded toward them. Maya opened her mouth to protest, but Marcus had already turned and was walking away. She sat there, stunned, trying to process the unexpected turn of events. Jordan, too, remained silent for a few moments, as if lost in his thoughts. Finally, he spoke, his voice quiet and serious. "Maya, I know this is a lot to take in, but I need you to understand something. I didn't want to overwhelm you with all of this. You're still getting to know me, and this whole world wasn't something I was ready to share." Maya stared at him, her mind racing. "But why, Jordan? Why didn't you tell me? We've been married for over a year, and I don't even know this side of you. I don't know anything about this restaurant, or Marcus, or any of it." Jordan looked at her, his eyes pained. "I didn't want you to feel like I was trying to impress you. I just wanted to be with you, Maya. I didn't want to seem like I was showing off." Maya felt a knot form in her stomach. "But you were hiding something. And that's worse than showing off." The weight of her words seemed to settle on Jordan. He ran a hand through his hair, clearly frustrated. I know I should have told you sooner. But it wasn't the right time. I didn't want you to feel like I was keeping secrets. But now that we're here, maybe it's time I opened up." Maya felt conflicted. Part of her wanted to understand, wanted to forgive him for not sharing this part of his life, but another part of her felt betrayed. The Jordan she thought she knew didn't seem to exist anymore. Or maybe he did, but he'd been hiding this other world from her. Before she could say anything else, their waiter arrived with their drinks. The brief interruption seemed to break the tension between them, but Maya couldn't shake the unease she was feeling. She wasn't sure if she was more upset with Jordan or with herself for not knowing the truth. As the waiter set their drinks on the table, Maya tried to smile, though it felt forced. "So, what now?" she asked, her voice quieter than usual. Jordan looked at her, his eyes filled with a mix of regret and determination. "Now, we talk. We get through this. Together." Maya wasn't so sure, but she nodded, if only for his sake. She had no idea where this conversation would take them, but it felt like everything was changing, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for the ride. Secrets unravel. Maya sat back in her chair, feeling the weight of everything that had just happened pressing down on her. Her mind was swirling with questions, but none of them seemed to make sense. How had she missed all the signs? How could Jordan have kept something like this hidden for so long? Jordan watched her closely, waiting for her to say something. He knew he had to explain himself, but the words weren't coming easily. Maya was clearly upset, and rightfully so, but he still wasn't sure how to make her understand. "Maya," he finally said, his voice soft but full of urgency, "I know this is a lot, and I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But I need you to know that I never wanted to hide things from you. I just didn't think it was the right time to tell you about Marcus or the restaurant." Maya looked at him, her eyes filled with disbelief. "Not the right time. Jordan, we've been married for over a year. If not now, when?" Jordan sighed deeply, leaning forward. "I didn't want to bring you into all this. It's complicated. My past, the way Marcus and I built this place, and everything that comes with it. I didn't want you to think I was trying to impress you or, worse, that I was using the restaurant to control everything." Maya shook her head, feeling a mix of frustration and hurt. "So, you thought it would be better to keep me in the dark, to make me feel like I was married to someone I didn't even know?" Jordan's face faltered, guilt flooding his expression. He opened his mouth to say something but paused, unsure if his words would make things better or worse. As the awkward silence stretched on, Maya's eyes wandered around the restaurant. The bright lights and soft chatter from the other tables felt far away, like she wasn't even part of this world anymore. This world that Jordan had been hiding from her. "I just wanted things to be normal," Jordan said finally, breaking the silence. "I wanted us to have our life together, without all the complications of business or status. But now, with Marcus being here, it's all come crashing down. Maya swallowed hard, her heart heavy. And how am I supposed to feel about that? You've been hiding this big part of your life, and now it's all out in the open. What am I supposed to do with all of this, Jordan? Jordan didn't answer right away. He reached for his drink, taking a long sip as if it might give him some clarity. When he set it down, he looked at Maya with a somber expression. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought maybe it wasn't important, that maybe you wouldn't care, but I was wrong. You deserve to know everything. And I'm sorry for keeping this from you. Maya stared at him, her emotions churning inside her. She had so many questions, but there was one that stood out above the rest. Why now? Why did Marcus have to show up at our table like that? Why didn't you warn me? I had no idea who he was, and now I feel like I've been made a fool. Jordan winced at the pain in her voice. I didn't think Marcus would show up here. I didn't want him to make things awkward, especially with you. He's always been a bit much when he's around people who don't know him. But that's not an excuse for what happened. Maya felt a mix of anger and confusion. She wanted to trust him, but the secrets, the lies, they were building a wall between them that felt impossible to climb. I just don't understand, Jordan. Why did you think it was okay to keep this from me? Jordan's face softened, and he placed his hand on top of hers. I thought I was protecting you, Maya. I thought that if I kept this part of my life separate, it would be easier. I didn't want you to feel like you were just some CEO's wife or anything like that. I wanted you to see me for who I am, not for the things I've done or the people I know. Maya pulled her hand away slowly, the words sinking in but not comforting her. She wasn't sure what to believe anymore. Was Jordan the man she thought he was, or was he someone else entirely? Just then, the hostess came over, a slight frown on her face. Excuse me, but the kitchen just sent out your meal. Is everything all right? Maya glanced up at the hostess, her thoughts scattered. Yes, thank you, she said quickly, not wanting to cause a scene. But as the hostess walked away, Maya's mind continued to race. Jordan's attempts to explain felt like empty promises, like he was trying to erase the distance that had formed between them. But how could they go back to how things were before? How could she trust him again after all the secrets and lies? As the waiter set their meals down in front of them, Maya barely noticed. Her stomach churned, and the food in front of her seemed unappetizing. Everything felt like it had changed in an instant, and she didn't know how to fix it. Jordan, too, sat there quietly, his face tight with anxiety. He wanted to say something to make it better, but nothing seemed right. He'd already hurt her more than he'd ever intended. And now, all he could do was wait, hoping that somehow they would find their way back to each other. But Maya wasn't sure if she wanted to go back. Not yet, anyway. The breaking point. The restaurant felt suffocating now. The same warm ambience that once felt inviting now felt like an endless echo of what had gone wrong. Maya's thoughts kept racing back to the moment when Marcus had walked into the restaurant. She could still see the smirk on his face, the way he'd nodded to Jordan, as if they were in some unspoken agreement. Maya was shaken. How could she have been so blind? She had no idea that her husband, the man she trusted, had such a complicated world hidden behind closed doors. Jordan sat opposite her, waiting, hoping she would say something. But the silence stretched between them like a heavy blanket that neither of them could lift. Every few seconds, he glanced at her, his eyes filled with regret and fear. He had made a mistake, a big one, but it was clear to him that the damage was deeper than he had thought. The love that once held them together now seemed fragile enough that a small crack could shatter everything. I'm sorry, Maya, Jordan said, his voice soft and filled with guilt. I should have told you. I should have trusted you more than I did. Maya looked at him, her eyes filled with hurt. You should have trusted me, she repeated, her voice tight. You should have trusted me with the truth, Jordan. Not just some part of it. Not just the easy parts. Jordan's face fell. I never wanted to lie to you. I thought I could protect you from all this. Protect you from Marcus, from the business, from the pressures. But I see now how wrong that was. Maya shook her head, her hand instinctively clutching the edge of her chair as if trying to steady herself. Protect me, she scoffed softly. Jordan, I don't need protection from the truth. I need honesty. I need to know who I'm really married to. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest. Everything had changed in the blink of an eye, and she didn't know where to go from here. All the things she thought she knew about her life with Jordan now seemed like a lie. Was it all just a facade? Was their marriage built on secrets? Jordan opened his mouth to speak, but Maya cut him off. She wasn't sure what she was feeling anymore. Anger, confusion, disbelief. Maybe all of them. But one thing was certain. She had to make him understand the gravity of what he had done. You've always told me I was your partner, Jordan, she said, her voice shaking slightly. That we were in this together. But you've kept so much from me. And now, I can't even look at you the same way. The words hit Jordan like a slap to the face. He knew he had messed up, but hearing Maya's pain, seeing the tears welling up in her eyes, made him realize just how far apart they had drifted. He reached out, placing his hand gently over hers, but Maya quickly pulled it away. The rejection was like a punch to his gut. I don't know if I can keep doing this, Jordan, she whispered, more to herself than to him. I don't know if I can keep pretending everything is fine when I'm not even sure who you really are anymore. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The words Maya had said hung in the air, thick and heavy. Jordan felt like he was drowning in them. How could he fix this? How could he make Maya understand that he hadn't wanted any of this to happen? That he hadn't wanted her to feel like she was just a part of his life he could hide away. I love you, Maya, he said quietly, his voice breaking as he spoke. I do. I've always loved you. And I'm sorry. I can't take back what I've done. But I can try to fix it. I can try to show you that I'm not just the man you thought I was. I'm more than this, more than the secrets I kept. Maya looked at him, her expression unreadable. She wanted to believe him. She really did. But the trust they had built over the past year had been shaken so much that she wasn't sure it could ever be repaired. I need time, she said, her voice steady now, but her heart was torn in two. I need time to think about this. About us. Jordan nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He knew that this wasn't something that could be fixed in a day or even a week. The pain she was feeling, the betrayal she had endured, wasn't something he could just erase with an apology. All he could do now was wait, and hope that she would find a way to forgive him. The waiter came by with their check, his timing impeccable but unwelcome. Jordan paid the bill silently, not looking at Maya. He knew that no amount of money could fix the damage that had been done. As they both stood up to leave, there was an awkwardness in the air, a tension that neither of them knew how to ease. Maya walked ahead, her mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. She had to find answers, not just from Jordan, but from herself. Could she continue this marriage knowing what she knew now? Could she ever trust him again? She didn't know the answers yet. All she knew was that the man she had married was not the man she thought he was. And that truth was harder to swallow than anything else. The unraveling truth. Maya didn't know what to expect as she walked out of the restaurant. The weight of the conversation with Jordan lingered in her chest like a stone she couldn't shake. She kept replaying his words in her head, but they seemed to lose meaning the more she thought about them. The more she tried to make sense of what he had said, the more confused she became. Did he really love her? Or had he just been hiding behind a mask of affection to cover up the truth? Her mind was a swirl of conflicting emotions. She needed answers, but she wasn't sure if she was ready to hear them. What had Jordan kept from her? What else was he hiding? The thought gnawed at her, threatening to consume her whole. The night air hit her like a rush of cold water, but it didn't cool the fire inside her. She was still seething, still processing everything she had learned that day. She had tried to tell herself that Jordan's secrets were nothing more than small missteps, things that couples could work through. But now, it felt like the cracks in their relationship were too deep to ignore. As Maya walked through the parking lot, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She paused, pulling it out. It was a text message from Jordan. He had sent her a simple, apologetic message, asking her to come home, to talk things through. Her fingers hovered over the screen, but she couldn't bring herself to respond. The hurt was too fresh, too raw. She needed space, needed time to figure out what she wanted and what she needed from him. Maya felt a sudden surge of anger. How could Jordan have thought she wouldn't be hurt by his lies? He had been hiding so much from her, hiding a life she hadn't known about. What else could he possibly be keeping from her? The thought sent chills down her spine. What else had he lied about? She shook her head, trying to clear the thoughts swirling in her mind. She needed to talk to someone. Someone who would understand. Someone who would give her a different perspective. Just as she was about to get into her car, she saw someone in the distance, a figure walking toward her, seemingly out of nowhere. She squinted in the dim light and recognized the figure instantly. It was Marcus. Her heart skipped a beat as she stood frozen in place. What was he doing here? Why was he walking toward her? 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind, each one more frantic than the last. Was he following her? Did he have something to do with the secrets Jordan was hiding? Marcus' eyes met hers, and he smiled, but there was something unsettling in his smile, something that didn't sit right with Maya. "Maya," he said, his voice calm but carrying an undertone of something else. "I've been looking for you." Maya stiffened, her instincts screaming at her to get away. But her feet refused to move. "What do you want, Marcus?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I think it's time you and I had a little chat," Marcus replied, his smile widening. "You've been kept in the dark for too long. Jordan's not the man you think he is, Maya." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "What are you talking about?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Marcus took a step closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "Let's just say that the truth about Jordan will shake you to your core. But if you're smart, you'll listen to me. I'm the only one who can show you who he really is." Maya felt the weight of his words press down on her. Everything about this situation felt wrong, but she couldn't help herself. She was curious. She needed to know what Marcus was talking about. She had to understand the full picture, even if it meant hearing things she wasn't ready for. "Why should I believe you?" she asked, her voice laced with suspicion. Marcus' smile never faltered. "Because I know things, Maya. Things that will make you question everything you thought you knew about your husband. Trust me, you'll want to hear what I have to say." Maya hesitated. She had always trusted Jordan, but now, with every word Marcus spoke, her faith in him was starting to erode. What could Marcus possibly know that would make everything change? "Fine," she said finally, her voice sharp. "Tell me what you know." Marcus nodded, and with that he began to speak. Maya listened intently, but as he continued, her stomach twisted into knots. He revealed things about Jordan, about his past, that Maya had never even imagined. Secrets that went far beyond anything she could have prepared for. Things that made her question the very foundation of their marriage. Maya stood there, her mind reeling, trying to process everything Marcus had told her. Was it true? Could it really be true? Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden voice in the distance. Jordan's voice. "Maya." She turned around to see him running toward her, his face pale with worry. His eyes flicked nervously between her and Marcus. "What's going on here?" Jordan asked, his voice tense. Maya felt a rush of emotions. The anger, the betrayal, the confusion, crash over her all at once. She had to know the truth now, once and for all. "Jordan, who is this man?" she demanded. "What is he talking about?" Jordan froze, his face a mixture of fear and guilt. He didn't answer right away, but Maya didn't wait. She was done being kept in the dark. She was done with the lies. "Tell me," "Jordan," she said, her voice trembling with a mix of fury and desperation. "Tell me everything." This shocking revelation. Maya's heart pounded in her chest as she stood between the two men. The night air felt heavier than ever, the silence between them oppressive. Her mind raced, each thought more frantic than the last. Jordan was here, his face filled with anxiety, but it wasn't the worry that she had expected. It wasn't the concern for her that she had hoped for. She glanced at Marcus. His smile had faded, replaced with a look of grim determination. His words hung in the air, thick and suffocating. He had exposed things about Jordan that Maya couldn't yet wrap her mind around. And now, with Jordan standing in front of her, she was on the verge of breaking. "Maya," Jordan finally spoke, his voice soft, almost pleading. I can explain everything. Please just let me explain." But Maya wasn't sure if she wanted to hear it anymore. How could she trust him after everything Marcus had said? How could she look at him the same way when she was starting to see a side of him she had never imagined? The man she had loved and built her life with was suddenly unrecognizable. "You've been lying to me," Maya said, her voice trembling but sharp. "How long, Jordan? How long have you been hiding this from me?" Jordan took a step forward, but Maya instinctively backed away. The distance between them seemed like miles, the space filled with the weight of betrayal and broken trust. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," Jordan said, his voice cracking. "I was going to tell you, Maya. I swear I was. But things just got out of hand." Maya shook her head. "Out of hand? How could you think this wouldn't hurt me? How could you keep secrets like this from me?" Her words came out in a rush, the anger she had been holding back now flooding to the surface. "You never thought I deserved to know the truth." Jordan looked down, ashamed. "No, that's not it. I didn't want to lose you. I thought if I told you, you'd leave me. I thought I could protect you from it." From the corner of her eye, Maya saw Marcus take a small step forward, his eyes never leaving Jordan. "Protect her," he scoffed. "From what, Jordan? From the truth. You're pathetic." Jordan's gaze snapped to Marcus, but he said nothing. The words seemed to die on his lips as his eyes softened in defeat. Maya could see it now, the cracks in his facade. The man she had married wasn't the strong, reliable partner she had always thought he was. He was someone much weaker, someone who had been running from the truth, from everything that was real. Maya's chest tightened as the reality of the situation hit her. She had been married to a man who had built an entire life on lies, on secrets he had kept hidden in the shadows. She had trusted him, and he had betrayed that trust in the worst way possible. She turned to Marcus. "What exactly did you mean when you said you knew everything about him?" she asked, her voice steady despite the whirlwind inside her. Marcus' eyes flickered for a moment, and he stepped closer to her. "It's not just that he's been lying to you, Maya. It's that he's been lying to everyone. This restaurant, everything he's built. He's not the man he's pretending to be." Maya felt a sharp pain in her chest. What did that even mean? Was Marcus trying to ruin Jordan, to tear down everything they had? She had to know. She had to understand the full picture before she could make any decision. "Tell me everything," she demanded, her voice cold with determination. "I deserve to know the truth." Marcus looked between her and Jordan, and then he sighed, as if the weight of what he was about to say was too much to carry. "All right. You need to hear this. Jordan's been involved in some shady business deals, things he never wanted you to find out about. He's been using the restaurant as a front for his other ventures. He's tied to people who could destroy everything you've worked for, Maya." Maya felt her stomach churn. The restaurant, the place she had once thought was their future, the place she had supported Jordan through thick and thin, was part of something much darker. The man she had trusted was a far cry from the person she had believed him to be. And now she was standing on the edge of a precipice, not knowing if she should take the plunge and confront the chaos, or if she should walk away, leaving the man who had lied to her behind. Jordan was silent, standing there, helpless. He didn't deny what Marcus was saying. In fact, Maya could see the truth in his eyes. He had been living a double life, and she had been none the wiser. Maya's heart shattered. She had loved Jordan. She had built a life with him. But now, as the truth came crashing down around her, she wasn't sure if the man standing in front of her was someone she even recognized anymore. "Maya," Jordan said, stepping closer, his voice hoarse. "I never wanted this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. Stop," Maya interrupted, holding up her hand. "I don't know who you are anymore. I don't know what to believe." She took a step back from him, her eyes full of tears, but her resolve was stronger than ever. The man she had loved was gone, replaced by someone she wasn't sure she could ever trust again. Marcus stepped in front of her, his eyes softening for just a moment. "Maya, you don't have to make any decisions right now. But know this, you're not alone in this, and you deserve the truth." Maya's heart ached, but she knew one thing for sure. Nothing would ever be the same. The life she had known, the love she had once believed in, had been shattered. And as she looked at Jordan, all she could feel was a deep emptiness, a loss she wasn't sure she could ever overcome.